And the static guys there that we had, they were
Mhm.
SPOs. They weren't contractors. They were actually SPOs. They were staff guys that they started to bring over. They were good, but the contract static guys were usually, I'll be, and they were usually better. They
I will
were.
say in '05 when I came on, the mobile static side with those GRS on both sides of the house, at least during that time, it was so I was so thankful to be around such great operators of what y'all were. So
It,
from SEALs to CAG to Rangers to the Marines at the
yeah.
time was it MARSOC, I don't believe.
Mario was for
Recon,
they were
Force
recon
Recon.
guys. Yeah, force
But
recon
you
guys.
know,
Yeah.
everybody had these great unique specialty backgrounds, and it's interesting you bring that up with the SPOs. My last tour was at a flagpole there in Baghdad, and it was my first time working around the SPOs, and they were starting to say we're going to start integrating blue where these
Yeah.
guys. And even then, the SPO was a canine officer, I believe, and one of the other ones that came in, and they said, well, why not keep all these guys with these backgrounds because a lot of these are different, and it was so the little bit that I had, and I'm curious to hear that went to fruition because it was just kind of getting knocked around, and it was different.
I the honestly, the static when you came from the contractors, we could hold them to a standard too, because you guys still had to go. I ran those courses. I'd come back to Blackwater and run. That's what we called the AOB, Army of Blackwater courses, which was the
Yep.
static courses for OGA bases. And those shooting quals, I mean, they weren't as difficult as the mobile, but they were still difficult. Guys didn't make them. There was a harder standard. We had to push through driving, level one CQD. When you mentioned Dieter, that I
Yeah.
did. Some guys didn't like it. I loved going through his stuff. It was
I
funny.
loved it.
Yeah,
I went through the mobile side of the house for the train up.
for the
So for
training.
free
Yep.
walls, I was going through static. So I was blessed to have went through that side and see it. And there are some differences.
Yes, it is. We
Better
just
be Johnny on the spot,
you
because even then
did.
the client, they come in, they
They
have their.
come in, look, and I went through the training portion to be an instructor as well. We had to go through the vetting portion. They called it something forging, which is basically just getting your ass beat when blindfolded all day. Basically, they blindfold you and they like a fight, and like I can't see anything, and wow, somebody hits you in the face.
Wow.
But
How
no,
long
but
did you instruct for?
actually, I did. I was a level one, not at Dieter's place. It was a Randy Leonard was running Blackwater, and
Okay.
he was head of all the whole capo OGA program.
Right.
So myself and a guy named Darren Miller was a CQD instructor. We ran the level one at Blackwater because we were able to.
Okay.
Dwayne bless, but I myself, Chris. Oh man, I can't remember his name. Chris Duke and a guy named Mike Toy. Chris Toy. We had to go and get level one certified. Chris Duke actually went beyond. He went all the way to, I think there's like 16 levels. I
Wow.
think level one. I was like level one. I'm like, I'm done. This is I'm out. I'm out. I
Good.
got my ass kicked enough. Now I'm good.
Still got that
But
level.
that was the level one is the stuff that I could teach to the AOB and the
Okay.
capo. So they would come through us. So we just got so many people at that point in time that we couldn't send everybody to Dieter. We couldn't get them through fast enough. So Dwayne was okay to send Darren Miller, who was a SEAL
Okay.
teammate, great guy, love that guy. And he was one of Dwayne's top instructors. He ran the course at Blackwater, and three of us assisted him.
Nice.
Yeah, I'd have to ask Dwayne. Dwayne's the one that decides on what level you go to, but I went through I think it was 3 weeks of it. So I think I'm able to teach up to level three, but I don't know. It's Dwayne
Nice.
made that decision. And honestly, I was an assistant for Darren Miller, but I did get to go through the first 3 weeks of forging
That's awesome.
and then I started punching back out to Jairus because I was still doing mobile missions, which it was awesome. And like I said, Saint and I would talk about that too. To be honest, we talk about Dieter and the mobile stuff and how getting in. We had the stories about the hooded box and
Oh, the
dropping
hooded drills.
the hood,
Yeah,
and we
and I
just
remember
laughed.
they said Dwayne came in and said, "Listen, gentlemen, ain't none of y'all leaving without some blood."
You're
And he
going
was correct.
to
You
and
know,
but they remember they throw the curveball at you where the hood would come up and it'd just be a bystander there. And Drew, I remember we laughed so hard.
nothing happened.
We were drinking in New York and we're laughing. He goes, "Yeah, they put the hood up and it was this lady." And he says, "I punched her right in the face." And I'm like, "Dude, you failed." When he failed, because that's what it's for. Punch up, you
Yeah,
got to relax. You got to
yeah.
respond to the situation. And Drew said, "I was so amped up." They raised the hood up and he said, "Bam!" And he punched her. Well, he did the Pisa for him. But for all you guys out there, they are wearing these big these big helmets. They're
Black
not getting
coats.
hurt. They're
Yeah,
paid off for. They get paid to get beat
that's
up
true.
and to beat us up. But
By the way,
man,
what
I
you
laughed
guys
so
are
hard.
describing sounds like the Red Circle for the Navy SEALs. 'Cause
Well, that's where it started for. That was Marchenko. Dwayne Dieter is one of those. It all ties together because it was a SEAL thing specifically, and Dwayne taught just SEALs. And actually, Dwayne was one of the first civilians to go over on missions with teams because of this. And then it
Because for
just
those of you listening
YouTube
who
branched out.
know Brandon Webb's first book is The Red Circle, and you're wondering what's the meaning of the Red Circle, that's what he's talking about. Is very similar exercise to
It's
what you're saying.
wet. Brandon went through it. All the SEALs used to go through it. No, I mean they were the one group that did go through it because it was Dwayne and had I don't know if it was contracts, and Jay helped me out here. But it was one of those things where it was SEALs and Dwayne Dieter, CQD, and then the rest of the community started to catch on to it. As far as the agency, Rangers, we did more. We worked with the Gracies. The Rangers was when I was more jujitsu, Gracie going to their dojos. So I got to learn a lot of that, and then just doing their own back tactics and defense tactics. But Dieter was a SEAL thing, so yeah, that's exactly what it's from, bro. That's where Brandon's been through it too. There's every SEAL at that time has gone through some form of Dieter training. I just was lucky and blessed enough that Randy Leonard, his call sign was Horsecock. Just you can wonder why. I mean, whatever you guys want to think. Love that guy though. He was a DevGru guy. You know, one of my best bosses I've ever had. He was a great great trainer. Helped me learn how to shoot. Got really app on the shooting. But I was lucky enough to be picked and says, dude, you're doing well. I needed an instructor in AO. You have a break. Can you come back from your GRS break from Kabul at the time? And I go, can you go through Dieter? So like, sure, I'll go through. It's another, it's another on the resume. But yeah, it's just the funny that the hooded box, which was the red circle, the red square actually, but whatever you want to call it.
And after you got to do the videotape and watch,
and then the videotape and get yourself critique. Like, dude, the first thing I went through, because I was telling Drew about this too. I was like, well, my first time they put the hooded box up, and you have the choice to run too. You don't have to stay there and fight. I had a knife. That's it. Hood comes up. There's a guy at the end of the room. He's 20 feet away. He has a gun and he pulls it. And I ran towards him and tried to get him with my knife. And they look like, why the hell? You have a knife. There's the door right there. He has a gun. Why are you running? You're such an idiot. I was like, I don't know. I just felt like I had to kill them. Well, I got shot like 20 times before. But that was to see how you react. And
right.
And no, actually I got kudos from it. So like, well, we know you're not going to run away, right? Even when you're supposed to. I'm like, well,
CEOs will appreciate that.
That's what he did. But Drew and I'm glad you brought, because that was funny when Drew because I told Drew that story, then he told me his, and that is so Drew. Hood comes up, he doesn't even ask questions. He's not going to make any decisions. He's just going to fight. Bam! But did you hit right in the face? Oh, we died laughing. Well, anyway, you brought up a great memory, dude. And I'd forgotten about. I'll be honest, I'd forgotten about that conversation sitting with Drew in my motel room. We were just hanging out before we are going to go out to dinner. He's in his flip flops. He's in his BDU cut off shorts, hat turned backwards, and we just. Yep, and we just started to give SEAL shit, and then we got into the Dieter stuff. I mean, it's just one of those things. Like we just started talking shit, drink a little bit, and
right.
Remember Dieter? Did you go through that? Anyway, I'm sorry, I went long. It was a good memory. That was good.